For a more immersive experience, I recommend you wear headphones for this podcast. I dreamed about you a few nights ago. You were laughing about something. Head thrown back, straight nose and crooked teeth. Bruise on your sharp cheekbone faded to a greenish shadow. Freckles catching the sunlight like a galaxy imprinted on your skin. The sunlight caught strands of your hair in blinding red, a halo of fire. There was no sound. I couldn't remember what your laugh sounded like anymore. Honestly, I try not to think of you, so when I woke up, I slipped the piece of you that I've kept with me since you left from my neck, and I tuck it in a box in my dresser and close the drawer with a snap. Finality. Welcome to Mil-Liminal, Episode 5, The Bathrooms. Hey listener, it's me, Midnight Gas Station employee, here once again with my dark trees, endless road, and neon lights. The seconds tick by audibly on the analog clock behind the register. They seem slow, like there's hours between them somehow. It's witching hour again, and I'm haunted by memories and by real ghosts. I think I've forgotten what my laugh sounds like too. A family has been coming in for the past few nights. It's hard for me to tell if things are real or not anymore. I think they're real. They ask for directions, looking for the road to Rainier every time. I watch them leave, taillights of their camper van flickering in the dark past the mossy lights of the ever-present Volvo. Sam thinks I need therapy. Someone to talk to. I think I need a lot of things, and I'm not sure that's one of them. Besides, that's what this is, isn't it? I'm not sure I intended that, but here we are. All I know is that there's something about being surrounded by sadness and death all the time that takes a toll on the person. Maybe that's why I'm so little. Maybe half of me is worn away into nothing. Maybe every ghost I see, every story that materializes in my doorway takes a little bit of me with them, and I'm wearing down to nothing. Maybe that's why I get so tired all the time. Tired and cold and a little bit lost. To be fair, I guess I've always been a little lost. Maybe I'm becoming a ghost. Still, there's no point in crying about these things and being all emo. There's a path ahead to better days. There must be. I can almost see it. I'm fighting my way towards it, fingers outstretched. The gas station, with all the horrors it might hold, is still less horrifying than the things I experienced outside of it, be it human or spooky thing. There's a barrier here, between me and the others. The creatures lurking just beyond the threshold of the parking lot don't attack me, or chase me. The static figures in the CRT TVs make me jump, and the hair on the back of my neck stand up, but they don't do more than that. I think it's just exhausting to be on the edge all the time. I've spent my whole life on the edge, but I've had 17 years of practice on how to balance it. But now, the edge is different, and even though sometimes I feel like I'm safer, other times I feel like I'm going to teeter off it and fall into the abyss at any moment. Not my first mistake by a long shot, but my biggest mistake was believing that the gas station won't hurt me. Trusting too much in an inanimate object that has really nothing to do with my situation. Believing in a routine when the reality is there's no such thing in our universe. Because unlike the dead, unfeeling walls of the gas co, the universe is a living thing, ever pulsing and changing at a whim, unpredictable and untrustworthy in its behavior. Okay, pull yourself together, Caro. Enough whining about life and death and the whims of the universe. Let's talk about change. Let's talk about liminal things. After all, that's why you're here, isn't it? So ghosts are here, sure, always have been. I see them all the time. Memory ghosts and real ones, like the family in the camper van. I'm still not sure if they are ghosts or even living. They could just be driving in an infinite circle. Caught in loops seems to be a thing that can happen to a person. Like Groundhog Day but for eternity. I'll have to pay attention next time to see if they look normal or bordering on frantic. How does one get stuck in a time loop, Caro? Listener, I do not know. As much as it feels like I'm stuck in a time loop working this capitalistic shift every night, I truly hope to avoid that, because I think it might be worse than death itself. I guess what I'm getting at here is that ghosts are not the only thing that are hiding on the other side of reality. We know time can be liminal. Of course it can. That's why the witching hour exists. The universe is breathing, and with each breath, time flutters around us. The so-called veil shifts and moves, and every once in a while flits aside to give us a little peek into the unknown. Unless you're me, in which case the veil doesn't seem to exist. It's almost like I'm woven from the same fabric. I gotta tell you, that's a lot to sink in for a barely on the cusp of adulthood teenager. Honestly, probably for anyone. Who am I kidding? Put that veil back. Nail it down if you ask me. And of course, we already know places can be liminal. A state of being of a passing through. Train station or an airport, gas station, the so-called back rooms. The list goes on. Places we are not meant to linger. Where staying too long upends our perception of what's real and what isn't, and what makes everything feel a little bit sideways. Except, of course, for the midnight employees. I heard somewhere once that people who work the overnight shift are always a little bit, different. And I think maybe that's true, but it's not in the way you think. It's not because of shifted sleep schedule or dealing with being alone for 8 hours. It's because of the space, being a permanent in a passing through. It makes you feel a little bit sideways too, even if you're not a seer. And I think other people can sense that in us. So maybe the combination of liminal time and a liminal place and a sideways employee who's just a little bit more perceptive than most to the supernatural explains the bathroom at the gas co. Carol, what? That is not where I thought you were going to go with this. Me either, listener, but bear with me. Bathrooms. Funny places. The epicenter of what am I doing here? The place to lean over the sink and stare at your haggard reflection and reflect. Literally. The place to go if you're feeling down so the cute drunk girlies will tell you how pretty you are. A place for us at our most vulnerable. One that holds the sorrows of illness, isolation, addiction, and yes, sometimes even death. Honestly, if you ask me, I'd say bathrooms are one of the most haunted places there is. Haunted by humanity. Truly, truly the horrors. The bathroom at my gasco is probably very similar to any other bathroom you'd find at a middle-of-nowhere gas station. You have to ask for the key, and it's located on the outside behind the building. Honestly, we don't get a lot of people coming and going during my shift. We do have a door on our side inside the store that stays locked, but I can use that if I need to clean or restock instead of going outside alone in the middle of the night with my arms full of toilet paper rolls. Sam isn't too keen on the night workers going outside if we can help it. I say that like I'm not the only one, but you get my point. Here's the thing. Even though we have an employee bathroom, quite often I will still use the public one when I'm on shift. You see, a lot of times toilets in places like gas stations and truck stops don't have mirrors. It's too easy to break and hurt yourself or worse. And for reasons I don't think I need to get into, I'm not really that keen on mirrors. People have been looking at me my whole life, and I'm kind of out of the habit of looking at myself because all I see is a stranger, so I use the public bathroom and avoid violet eyes of someone I thought I used to know. Sam, I swear to God, if you hear this and stop me from doing things my way, I will go feral. I know that you think that I'm already a little bit feral, but trust me, I will go feral. I I think I might be a little grouchy this episode, but I guess you would be too if you dealt with what I just dealt with. So, on to the story. 3:28 a.m. It's dark. So dark I can't even make out the silhouette of the trees beyond the neon parking lot lights. I won't walk out there tonight, even though in a strange kind of way the nothingness beckons. Nope, not me. Just before the dawn breaks is the darkest time of night, pulsing, aware of what havoc the darkness can wreak just before it's cracked and shattered by saving daylight. I'm safe here. All of that to say that I've been spacing out of the register so long I'm busting at the seams, so off I go, keys jingling hooked around my pinky. I make my way to the back room and slide the key into the lock of the heavy metal inside door that leads to the public bathroom. My sneakers squeak on the vintage cracked tile. It smells like disinfectant and must. I pad across the floor through the dimly lit room to the stall and close myself inside. I wonder briefly why all bathrooms with locks that allow for one person at a time still sometimes have stalls. Everything is an eerie shade of blue. It doesn't matter what time of day it is. It's like someone slapped a blue light filter over the already blue of the Pacific Northwest in here. The air is thick, and a dripping faucet echoes around the walls endlessly. There's never silence. I reflect briefly on what a pain in the ass coveralls can be at moments like this, struggle for a second, and go about my business. I bet you weren't expecting a play-by-play of pissing hour, were you? I notice one of the fluorescent lights is flickering, and I make a mental note to tell Edgar about that tomorrow. It makes a slight buzz that brings back something from my childhood. A nightmare, maybe. I can't put my finger on it, but I find it a bit unnerving. I finish up and unlock the stall and step towards the sink. I must be tired. It seems really far away. Not by much, maybe just a tile length or two, but far enough away that I find it annoying. I frown and move towards it, but it's like I haven't moved. Even though if I look back, I'm now standing halfway between the stall and the sink. I take another step. And another. I get no closer. I look behind me. The stall is still there. Now, normally I could stretch out my arms and touch the stall door and the sink at the same time. This isn't a big space. Now I stand and stretch my arms out in a T-pose, and it seems neither are in reach, even if I lunge. I do lunge towards the sink, slip and land on my knees. Ow! But, haha! My fingertips graze the lip, so I get up and start sprinting towards it. I manage to reach out and grab the edge of the cold brush metal and pull myself to it, trembling all over and feeling like I'm gonna Ralph. No mirror to check my haggard expression. I wash my hands quick before I lose the opportunity, and I take a chance and look behind me. The stall is there, looming, painted a gross shade of forest green you only find in places like this. Still seemingly only a tile or two off from where it's supposed to be, just out of reach. No matter. Haunted trickster bathroom is the least of my problems. Lucky for me, the door back to the inside of the gas co is right by the sink anyway. I put my hand on the handle and step towards it, sneakers splashing. Wait, I look down. There's a 1/4 inch of thick green water sloshing the rubber of my soles coming from underneath the door. Uh-oh, has the ice maker broken again? I wrench the door open, and more water rushes in from a place that definitely is not the back room of the gas station. It's like the bathroom I'm standing in. Blue and hazy, cracked tile and brushed metal. A mirror of where I am. I look back, standing in the threshold, separated by a door that goes exactly where I've already been, except the not bathroom side is filling with water through the sink and the windows. Well, that's not helpful. It seems like a bad idea to enter a place that seemingly doesn't exist, and the water is rising a bit. Okay, I'm scared of a lot of things, listener, obviously. But I'm trying to keep my cool here because there is a difference between being scared and downright phobic. And water is one of those things that I am terrified of. It's splashing over the top of my high tops and wetting my pant cuffs, rushing in through the open door. I slam it shut. It takes both hands and a bit of strength to push it against the flow of algae muck, but I manage it, wedging my shoulder against it with a final shove. It slows the flow, but there's still water coming in through the bottom crack of the door. I scoot back towards the sink and hop up onto it to get myself to a drier place so I can think. Okay, Carol, think. Think. Okay. This isn't a time loop. It's more like a space loop. The space has expanded, and now I'm trapped in an endless gas station toilet that's slowly filling with what looks like lake water for whatever reason. What is the point of this? I don't think it's a ghost thing. I can't see anyone around, and I'm not sure it's the gas station because I'm still convinced the gas co wouldn't hurt me. Though scaring me a bit isn't off the table, so I check my phone. No signal, of course. It won't even show me the time. The door next to me isn't going to work, apparently. There's a second door, the one that opens to the outside, but I'm not sure any amount of lunging will help me get to it. Besides, I can see the tiny window next to it, and it's not the usual blackness of night, but illuminated with blue fluorescence. So it stands to reason that any door I open will put me right back in this room. Plus, there's water spilling out of it like a waterfall down the sides of my current bathroom. Still, I can't sit here and try nothing. I hop back down from the sink and keep a hand on it, and lunge towards the bathroom stall frame. My fingers just miss. Murky water splashes up around my calves. It's getting harder to breathe, but that could just be me hyperventilating. I need to stay calm, and I need to remember to have Sam check the drains on the floor in here. They don't seem to be working very well. I try again and miss, not letting go of the sink, fearing if I lose my literal grip on reality, I'll be lost in a void of tile and water. I retreat back to the sink. Short arms or no, I should by all accounts be able to reach that stall with space to spare. I reach out a leg, pivoting myself back with an elbow on each edge of the sink and using my former cheerleader core strength to stretch it as far as it'll go. I should be able to kick the stall door open. It shouldn't even be that hard. I stretch my toe as much as I can, perfect ballet point, and miss completely, almost losing my balance. I try again, and again, till my arms give out. The water is now up to the bottom edge of the sink, and my chest is getting tighter by the moment. Rolls of wet toilet paper are floating around in the sickly, murky water, the paper disintegrating and bloating, looking like globs of white, ghostly figures. Okay, I can admit I'm starting to panic now. My breath is coming out in chilled fog, short and ragged, and while I'm sure I must be freezing, half-soaked, I can't feel anything. I wrench myself up and stand on the sink. The water sloshes over the edge, and I lose my footing and slip on the slick algaed metal and fall into the rising murk, hitting my hip hard on the metal on my way down. I guess it's lucky the water breaks my fall instead of the floor breaking my head, but now I'm in water I can't see the bottom of. No tile is shining through, my feet frantically searching for a foothold or something, but it's as though the floor has dropped out from beneath me, and I'm suspended in the middle of a horror show snow globe. I close my eyes and try to think. Someone tried to teach me how to swim once, but my buoyancy is, well, bad. I sink like a rock, and the weight of the heavy canvas clothing is pulling me down. I struggle to kick off my sneakers and free myself from the strangling coverall. That helps a bit. Thin cotton tank and boxers don't weigh as much. The water's higher now, up to my neck, and I can smell the thick green algae in my nose. Tilting my head back to keep my chin above so I don't inhale it, eyes squeezed shut, willing myself not to cry because panicking is the last thing I need right now. There's no way to have a clear head in a murky, chilled death trap. I'm kicking my legs and flailing my arms, not knowing how to swim, frantically trying to reach anything, the tiny window frame, the top of the stall, the door, fingers grasping and missing no matter how close I think I am. And I think that's the worst part of all. Finally, I push up against the ceiling. Wonderful. The one thing I can touch, and it's the roof, which lets me know I'm going to drown here, so unexpectedly, and become a legend for weird, unexplainable deaths on Reddit. I'm going to drown here in this place I thought I was safe. Like I have so many times before in the nightmares I can suddenly recall with certain clarity. Nightmares of fluorescent purple shades of darkness, water in my eyes and nose, a buzzing sound that gets louder and louder until I can't hear anything at all, and I'm completely enveloped in unreal water until I wake up panting in a pool of sweat. But this isn't a dream, and I'm not waking up. The water is murky green. It smells like Green Lake in Seattle. It's not fantasy nightmare water. I can feel the strings of real algae brushing my legs and face. My lips to the ceiling with only an inch to spare, vision lost. I gasp and swallow a mouthful, and my whole world goes deep green. Everything's cut but the sound of water. I can hear my heart beating in my ears, spots filling my vision. It doesn't matter. I can barely see through the murk. My eyes are burning. The fluorescence looks sickly here, flickering through dark water. I hit my head repeatedly on the ceiling, and somewhere I can hear soft laughter, familiar and hopeful, something I thought I'd forgotten. I hold on to that, and I think of the Volvo covered in algae and moss, and I wonder if this was the last thing it experienced before it became a haunt. I push my hands against the ceiling with all my might, popcorn texture digging into my palms. My lungs are on fire, mouth and nose filled with murky green, and I focus on the pain in my hands until I can't feel anything. And just like that, life comes rushing back into me like a car hitting the side of a building at 100 miles an hour. It's like a wrecking ball has plunged through me, and I cough and I sputter and throw up a huge amount of murky water all over the bright tile that I'm lying on. Several people are shouting my name, but I can't stop coughing. I feel hands grab me and pull me forward, sitting me up while I cough water and throw up last night's Pop-Tart. I grab my head, dizzy, and start to cry, hysterical. And when I pull my hand back, I see my fingers are dark with blood and algae. Someone grabs my shoulders, and I use every ounce of strength left in me to force my eyes up and meet the bespectacled, gold-flecked eyes of Sam. Someone I can't focus on has his shoulders, and they're trying to pull him off me. But he has me in a death grip, fingers pressed into my arm to the point that it's painful. But I appreciate it because I can feel it. His face is wet and red and blotchy. I try to say his name, instead cough in his face. My throat burns. I turn my head and I see Bev there, relieving my shift. But her face is a mess, streaked mascara and blue shadow no normal person would wear at 6:30 a.m. smeared down her paper-textured cheeks. Her front is spattered with green and dark blood mixed. I blink past and see the flashing lights of the tiny fire department, preemptively here because an ambulance would have to be en route from the closest real town, Olympia in this case. I try and ask Sam what's happened, and now I'm gripping him as hard as he's gripping me. The burly volunteer firefighter with the crooked nose and kind eyes that I'd seen come in here for a bag of hot chips. He can't wrench us apart, so he stops trying. I focus on the flower tattoos on the firefighter's arm, trying to find my voice, but it hurts too much. Sam shakes his head. I don't know, Care. When Bev got here, you were lying on the bathroom floor, soaking wet and not breathing. He closes his eyes for a second. She called emergency, and then did her best to follow their directions and clear your airway. You swallowed a ton of water and moss. He pauses, his face is ghost white, lips trembling, and he envelopes me in that life-saving hug that only Sam can deliver. warmth spreading all the way to my bones, and he turns his head towards me and says in a soft voice that only I can hear, "If I didn't know any better, I would say that you drowned in the lake." I'm not sure how to tell him I'm pretty sure that's exactly what happened. I just shake my head and make a note to never use the public toilet again. Thanks for joining me for this episode of Mil-Liminal. Be sure to follow social media or subscribe for updates. Want to know more? This podcast is actually based on a webcomic, and you can read it right now for free on Tapas and Webtoon. Just search for Mil-Liminal, a horror romance about me, Carol, my podcast, and my desperate attempt to win a grouchy barista's heart. Or search for Seemingly Dark, a long-running supernatural comic full of ghosts, mysteries, and of course, I'm there too. Follow the creator, Raptor Jules, on Instagram or Twitter, or follow Seemingly Dark on Tumblr for art and stuff. Logo and music design is by Snake Pixel on Twitter. A special shout out and thanks to my Patreons, and hopefully I'll see you again soon.